Hello, boils and ghouls. Welcome to a very special interview episode of Dads from the Crypt. Joining me today is director Steven Kostanski. Welcome to the show.
Glad to be back. How's it going?
Good. You've been very busy since last time you were here. I think it was right after Psycho Goreman came out. And since then, you've had two more instant classics. Frankie
Sure.
Frico, instant cult classics.
I appreciate
Frankie
that.
Frankie Frico, and then now the Deathstalker remake. So we're going to dive right into that. Tell me how you came to come on that project.
On Deathstalker,
Mhm.
I was in Cannes doing the film market with Psycho Goreman. We just wrapped shooting, and so we were pitching the project for post-production funds. We had a whole presentation stuff lined up. While I was there, I had a meeting with the boys at Raven Banner, who were also at Cannes for the market, and they presented to me a list of properties that Show Factory had access to. There's a bunch of films in the, I think it's New Horizons library, Roger Corman library, that
Mhm.
Shout Factory had purchased the like the rights to. So I looked at this list and just went down the list, and they presented me the list to like adapt one of these into a remake. And so I went right down to the D and saw Deathstalker and was like, I'd like to do that, please. And so
Mhm.
that was what, 2019.
Oh
And so
wow.
it's been a long process getting here. A lot of pieces had to fit together for this to work. But yeah, I mean, I was able to just kind of jam out a script quickly, and we got financed. Shout Factory contributed some money. A lot of Canadian tax credits came into play. And yeah, like in the in between time, like it was such a long development process. I was able to make Frankie Frico in between as just like a way to get a movie going and to kind of keep the gears turning, so that
Mhm.
we could dive right into Deathstalker and kind of already have a model to follow. So yeah, it's been a busy few years.
Yeah, that's crazy. I think that this is like 6 years in the making. Um, and then obviously you were a fan of the movies previously.
Oh yeah, well, Deathstalker 2 is like one of my favorite B movies, but
Mhm.
Jim Wynorski, that guy, is a master filmmaker, in my opinion. Like that guy knows how to make fun movies. So yeah, Deathstalker 2 is just, for me, it's like peak silly fun,
Yeah.
like fantasy adventure schlock, and I mean schlock in the most
Oh yeah.
uh, positive sense possible.
Yeah, all
Yeah.
all of the original ones are on Amazon Prime. I was watching two yesterday to refresh, and like I just love how like within the first 15 seconds we're in it.
Oh yeah, and like Deathstalker's first line, I think, like, because he doesn't really say anything in that opening scene, but his first line when Princess Evie is being beaten up
Mhm.
is something to the effect of like, normally I don't mind seeing a woman get a good beating if she deserves
Yeah.
it, and that's like, whoa, what a thing to get your hero to say right off the top. But it's insane that the movie can immediately charm you after that. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know, it balances tones so well that it can, there could be a line like that, and you know that it's just played as a joke. Like it's a very like, I don't know, it's a very positive, upbeat movie. I find in all its silliness. Like I feel like the first Deathstalker is maybe a little more mean spirited,
Mhm.
especially in its treatment of women. But the second one, I think, is because Jim Wynorski. I just feel like everybody's having fun. Everything about it, just like there's like tongue firmly planted in cheek, and I don't know, it just works. It all just works for me. And we put it on at the shop multiple times, multiple times while making the creatures for Deathstalker, for my Deathstalker. And yeah, there's always a point where everyone in the shop just kind of stops what they're doing to enjoy the fun, because it's just such a fun, silly movie.
Yeah, for sure. Um, and then how did Slash come to be involved?
I mean, Slash has been involved with Raven Banner for a while on a few other projects, and so for this one, he was already kind of preloaded with them as
Mhm.
far as like helping produce genre projects with them, and he yeah, he was just like kind of instantly taken with the idea of doing a kind of like fantasy epic. Certainly, like his brand of music fits with that style of movie very well, and so yeah, he initially was just on as an executive producer, but then eventually contributed to the soundtrack. Him and Bear McCreary and Chuck Serino, the original composer of the Deathstalker 2 score, all combined forces to make the new theme song, which is, a remix of the original Deathstalker 2 theme, which is like pretty insane to me that we were able to pull that off because it's just such a catchy tune. I'm blasting it in my car all the time when I'm driving places. It's so fun. So, yeah, he contributed that song, but then also uh, Blitz Berlin, our composers on the film,
Yep.
enlisted him to help add a few of his kind of like musical talents to their tracks. So there's slash guitar sprinkled throughout the movie. It's
Okay.
pretty amazing.
Yeah, because Blitz Berlin's having a moment. I went to a screening of Queens of the Dead.
Yeah.
And one of the guys from Blitz Berlin was there, and I chatted with him, and then they also are on the new Silent Night, Deadly Night remake.
Yeah. No, those guys they're killing it. They're got their fingers in everything. Big budget, small budget. I'm so happy that they're still willing to slum it on my little movies
Yeah, they love it.
because they're awesome, and we just have such a great working relationship. And I'm so comfortable with them at this point. Like I think we have a good shorthand, and we can go into like weirdly specific places with our inspirations. I mean, the Deathstalker 2025 score is pulling from a lot of different things. One thing that I know Martin from Blitz Berlin was very excited about was being able to do sprinkle a little bit of argent metal throughout, which is the term for the kind of modern rebooting of the Doom game franchise. The Mick Gordon scores for those are it just has such a specific flavor to it, and Martin, I think, did a great job emulating that at a few points throughout the movie. Specifically when the, I guess, end boss of Deathstalker, I don't want to spoil it, but when the final creature shows up, we definitely dip into some argent metal there, and it's pretty wicked. I'm excited to have this score on vinyl and be able to play it.
Yeah, that's really interesting you bring that up, because we, in our review, which is out now, we're talking about your projects and everything, and like what would we like to see you do next? And I was like, you know what, Doom Dark Ages, adaptation, perfect.
I mean, the fantasy, since we're just fully in fantasy territory at this point, is like I would do the whole narrative. I mean, it technically, at least in my head canon, I feel like all the games do fit together to a certain degree. I would start with the original. I would start with the idea of like a lone space marine on Phobos, like orbiting Mars. There's like a hell outbreak on this space station, and just escalate and start not even start small. It would be huge, but like make like 5 movies that cover this whole arc of the Doom saga. To me, that would be that would be like my avatar. Like I would sink into that, and that would be the only movies I make for the rest of my life, and I'd be very happy with that.
Yes, that'd be very happy. Wow. All right. Then how did the concepts, how do you sit down and like, okay, what is Deathstalker and how do I make it for a modern audience? What was that process like?
I mean, it's the same as all my movies where I just think up like, well, what do I want to see? And not just what do I want to see, but what does like a younger, maybe a little bit more passionate about cinema Steve, like what did he want when he popped these movies into his VHS player, and what didn't he get that I could deliver on this time? And a big thing for me has always been that they have these beautiful Boris Vallejo posters where he's fighting like a big monster, and we never really got the monster side of the posters. And so that really was my mandate with this, was like deliver the monsters more than anything, deliver the fantasy action and creatures, because that was what I was huge into when I was younger, was like in the fantasy space specifically, it was like the action and the spectacle of it excited me. Like I played Magic cards. I
Oh
played
yeah.
fantasy video games, like I like a big Hexen and Heretic head. Um, so like that kind of stuff really excited me when I was younger. And then obviously like Army of Darkness is always a big influence, and you can feel it in this movie. But yeah, I just wanted to like deliver on the spectacle side, because I feel like the previous Deathstalker movies, while super fun, and again Deathstalker 2, one of my favorites, it didn't really like deliver the magic and wonder that I wanted from this type of movie, and so I wanted to just like stuff this movie full of that kind of stuff. So you get your fill of like monsters and wizardry and just the kind of crazy fantasy imagery that you should be getting from this type of movie.
Yeah, because like especially in Deathstalker 2, it's like the same like 3, 4 stuntmen just in different costumes. You can tell kind of like over and over, and like just rather
I
humanoid
mean, to
costumes
be
or
fair,
zombie makeup.
it like to be fair though, with our movie, we did do that as well. It was a
Well,
lot of like masked characters where we're like, well, this stunt guy Sebastian played a Dreadite this day. He can be a bandit on this day, and then on this day he can be, I don't know, swamp guy or whatever. Like we were swapping guys around constantly. So like
well, yeah.
any
I'm
there
more meant
were
like I'm more meant like the character wasn't as
yeah.
or as cut and paste as they were back then, which I really appreciate. And even there's that great scene where Deathstalker and Brisbane are just kind of walking through through like a kind of a swampy area, and then there's two massive titans just fighting in the background, just as if that's just a normal thing in their world.
Well, yeah, the idea we came up with for that was that that's essentially the equivalent of like road construction in
Mm,
fantasy times, where it's like you have to take detours because there's like titans fighting over the path you normally take. So like, oh, we got to go around these guys because they're going to be fighting for the next 2 years, and who knows when they're going to finish up. So we got to take this other route, and you don't think twice about it. And I feel like that
mhm,
would be a thing in this type of universe. Is there's always like bigger stuff happening in the background,
mhm.
but our little story is in the foreground, and that's what we're focused on. But I always wanted to like tease bigger things, and that's something I like doing with all my movies, especially like the past three movies, like Psycho Goreman, Frankie Frico, Deathstalker. I feel like all of them tease bigger worlds, and that's a fun thing that I like in movies because that's what you think about after the movie's done. You walk away from the movie being like for Psycho Goreman, thinking about the Alien Council. It's like, well, what are those
Yeah,
guys up to now? Like,
yeah.
what is their story? What's their deal? And I don't feel like that's denying the audience anything. That's just giving them breadcrumbs to follow on their own and come up with their own narratives and use their imaginations a little bit. I'm not a fan of giving all the answers and explaining away everything. I think
Mhm.
it's very Star Wars cantina logic of you see you can see this lived in world where there's all these other characters and creatures and they're dealing with their own problems, but we're not going to focus on that. We're going to focus on our protagonists and our story that's in the foreground.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I love the council from Psycho Goreman. And whenever we showed like his home world or the worlds he was enslaved on, I'm like, I want to see more of those worlds. And that's why I feel like we really got more of in this movie was a whole world set in one of those crazy things that's more hinted at in those other two movies.
Yeah, totally. I don't know. I think it's just become my style at this point. Is like leaving the audience something to think about, uh, and yeah, think about it in a Star Wars expanded universe sort of way. Like where if I had all the money and time in the world, there would be, uh, tales from the PG Council novels, and there would be spin-offs of all types, adding more breadcrumbs to these things and building out these mysteries a bit. So yeah.
I mean, not to get off topic from Deathstalker, but has there been any talk about expanded universe for Psycho Goreman?
There's always talk about it. It's really just cost. I mean, trying to get things made nowadays is really
Mhm.
hard, harder than it's ever been. Even like a sequel to a successful movie like Psycho Goreman, it's tough to like convince people that it'd be nice to have a little more money the second go
Right.
around. And that's the thing, like I'm kind of hard committing to that now is like when I do these movies, if the only way I would agree to a follow up is knowing that everybody is getting compensated appropriately for it in some way, because especially Psycho Goreman, everyone threw so much into that just because they wanted to make a fun movie. It would feel pretty gross for me to be like, hey, do you want to come back and do that again for no money a second time so we can make other people money? Like,
Right.
it sucks, but it always just comes down to the financing and how to make that happen. And right now, the movie landscape is so volatile. I'm surprised we even got Deathstalker made, to be honest. Like, considering the obstacles we were up against, were so many opportunities for this thing to just collapse completely on us. So yeah, I'm very happy that we made it to the finish line and it's out there, and that people seem to be enjoying it.
Oh yeah, no, everyone. I haven't heard one person that's seen it, not love it. Um, One of the quick fan favorites in the movie are the swamp monsters.
Oh yeah,
The cryptid. Tell me about that, because that's just like a standout moment. Like I want to make a gif of the guy just.
Well, the main swamp guy, played by Matt Ninabar, who plays Psycho Goreman. So I feel like he injected a bit of a like personality and heart into that character. I'm a huge fan of like kind of non-speaking monster characters who like can barely move, but every little movement tells a whole story. And so with that character, he's just a series of small movements that I think really make you fall in love with him as a swamp guy. I mean, I would say that now I'm a pretty big Swamp Thing fan, so I wanted to have like a little bit of that vibe with these guys as well. The idea that these creatures just live in the earth and can come out to exact revenge on people, and yeah, just finding a way to like make them sympathetic was really fun. They were fun to build, of course. Like Scott Patterson, an effects friend of mine, I let sculpt the main swamp guy, and it was fun. Like these kinds of creatures, we sort of make them up as we go, so it was fun to be able to like add random shit to them as we're building these costumes, because it's partially sculpted, partially fabricated. One detail in the main guy that nobody's ever going to see is that on his butt, he just had like a ton of human faces. Like there was just a sea of faces across his giant ass. And yeah, it's unfortunate that never gets a featured moment in the movie, because it was a pretty weird image that I'm happy Scott came up with. But yeah, they were really fun to create, and kind of like exactly my style of creature effects design, where we didn't even really have designs for them. I just had a concept in my head of like, I was thinking of like Return of Swamp Thing, like that look where there's lots of like just shit coming off of them. I was like, I want all these guys to have bark and vines and roots, and like the main guy has a little bonsai tree coming out of his head.
Yeah.
It's like a great opportunity to just like mess around and mash things together, and just keep doing that until you find a look that you're happy with. So yeah, they're a lot of fun to create. I'm very proud of those Swamp Boys.
And again, and in the end, they're just like, they just want to be hugged, just like any other monster.
Yeah, I love that nobody bumped on that in the script or even in shooting it. Just the one-to-one of Doodad saying exactly what they need and then them delivering what they need like 5 minutes later is just such like bare bones simple storytelling. I'm very proud that it worked, and that it reads as silly in the right kind of way. That when we were shooting that scene with the hug, Chris Nash, who was on set for creature effects and director of In a Violent Nature, he had a comment as soon as we were done shooting the hug. He was like, well, if you didn't know this was a Steve Kostanski movie before, you certainly know now, because that hug is pretty classic, a classic Kostanski bit, I would say, at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of our, as a fan, that's one of our favorite hallmarks, is this intense gore fantasy, but with a ton of heart.
Yeah, and I think it's a tough thing to balance, but I think I just like, it's just comes naturally to me, in that I don't want to make mean-spirited things. I want to make things that in the end make you feel good, and the violence and the spectacle of it is just spectacle. I never want to punish people. For me, that's why I watch these types of movies. I watch them for just like kind of the fun, comfort, and warm blanketness of it all. Like the fact that Deathstalker 2 is like, if I'm like stressed out, I'll put that on just to like cheer up and feel good. Like, so, and that's the high that I'm always chasing with my movies, is like making feel good genre movies. I feel like is a bit of a lost art in an age of everything being very dark and grim, which is an understandable reflection of a lot of things culturally right now. But I do think we need a little bit of lightness and a bit of levity to balance that out. So I'm happy to be that guy.
For sure. And like balance is a great word, because there is, you can go too far the other way where it gets like obnoxious. So like when Doodad says, "Did I do that?" I was like, for a moment, I was like, "Oh no!" But I'm like, "Okay, you set that up the entire movie. You earned that one. You earned it one time."
Also, it was like, this is me being a bit of a shithead too. It was like, we did it. People groaned on set, and I was like, "Well, I'm gonna stick with this because clearly some people are bumping on this." Like, it just became so deliberately obnoxious that I agree. I felt like it was earned. It's such a stupid moment. Even when I'm watching it in theaters with people, I love the reaction of people going like you feel them go, and then kind of accept it, and they're like, yeah, all right, hooray.
Like again, if you did that like the first time you met the character, and he did it like 10 times throughout the movie, and then that was like the big one, you're like, okay, it's played out. But the hold back, the restraint on that moment.
But also, like, we're in the last like 10-15 minutes of the movie. This is where things are going insane. This is where Necromumnon is like dropping F-bombs.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
kind
that
of
was
out of
great.
character.
What the fuck is
So
that?
like, so to me, I feel like the gloves are off at that point, and it's just insanity. So I think it's allowed in the context of the scene. We're allowed to have bursts of intense stupidity like that. And also, I wear it as a badge of honor that Patton Oswalt bumped so hard in the like recording of that line. He was like groaning and being like, "Oh, this is bad." Like, he straight up did not want to do it, and I was like, "No, you have to do it." So yeah, it just further cements that like I just had to commit to this out of like pure shithead desire to force one stupid thing all the way through to the end. Just out of sheer defiance of the audience.
Tell me about Patton Oswalt coming on the project.
I mean, he's kind of been in my orbit for a while now. He is attached to there's a Psycho Goreman project we're trying to get off the ground, an animated series. I mean, don't get your hopes too up about that, but we are trying to push it through and make it happen. It's been in development for a long time. And Patton is attached as a producer on it. And so I've been in meetings with him, and we've talked, and he's, expressed his fandom and appreciation for Psycho Goreman. So it was a pretty easy thing to just reach out and be like, "Hey, could you do this voice for us?" He also, Shout Factory has a relationship with him through the Mystery Science Theater revival. So yeah, like, I mean, I was not expecting to get that, to get him in the booth recording a Little Wizard for my movie, but it all just lined up perfectly, and we were able to get him. So yeah, it was awesome. It was just one long day, a mad sprint to get all these lines in, but it was a lot of fun. He's like such a pro. It was a great day. It was a lot of fun working with him. I hope we get to do it again.
Yeah, definitely. Did you have I always like to think about the what ifs. Did you have other actors lined up for that role if he wasn't able to do it?
Not really. I mean, he was always the guy in my head for Doodad. I mean, we did get like Laurie, who plays Doodad, physically. We definitely got like used to her voice on set, but and I think it changed, her presence changed the dynamic with the character. This is something Daniel Bernhardt has pointed out a few times, is that the way he interacts with Laurie, her being female instead of us getting a guy, it kind of feel like it's softened and made him like even though they banter and whatever, he is a little more polite just in his tone. And I think that in turn makes Deathstalker more likable and gives him more humanity, because like clearly he still has sympathy and has like a level of empathy for other people, and so I think that shines through with his interactions with Doodad. Because like if it was like Patton physically playing him on set, I think there would have been more bro energy just
Right.
intrinsically to the fact that it's two guys interacting. So yeah, the way it all worked out is I'm really surprised and very happy with it because again, it's like I want to have heart in these movies, and that was one of the areas that a lot of heart came out of it just by circumstance, just by how we put the pieces together.
And then on the same token, did you have any other actors? Like, how many actors you auditioned for Deathstalker? Was it always going to be Daniel Bernard?
I always had it in my head that it was going to be Daniel. Like as I was writing it, I just for some reason got hooked on this idea of him being in the movie. He's a guy I've admired for a long time, and not just as an actor and as a fighter, but like he he's just like been through so much uh, in his film career. Like he's had 30 plus years of doing this. He's been in like huge movies, tiny movies, and like the more I thought about that, the more it informed the character as I was coming up with it. Like I like the idea of this like older, more mature Deathstalker who's just you can tell has been through a lot of shit, and Daniel just brings that naturally in who he is as a person who's navigated Hollywood and survived and is still a working actor, stuntman, fight choreographer, like well respected in the community. So yeah, I just like got fixated on this idea, and then I was talking to one of the Raven Banner guys, Michael, and he was saying that he had worked with Daniel 20 something years ago on a movie that shot in Toronto. It was called like Gladiator Cop 2 or something. Uh, and so yeah, he just like shot Daniel a message. Me and him hopped on a Zoom the next day, immediately hit it off because it was mostly just me grilling him with questions about the movies he'd worked on.
Mhm.
And so yeah, we just had like a fun relationship because yeah, I mean I'm a big fan of industry stories, and that guy has so many. He's just constant. So yeah, we became fast friends and connected on the material as well very quickly. And he was on board what I was trying to do for the movie and brought a whole other level to just all the fights and the action choreography as well, like a level that I've never experienced before. So yeah, it was like two kind of totally different worlds colliding to make the like weird energy that is this Deathstalker movie. Was great. I can't imagine it being anyone but him.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, continuity isn't the biggest thing between Deathstalker films, but I think going with an older actor does make it seem like, okay, those movies, this isn't necessarily a remake, but just kind of like what Deathstalker later in life, just kind of like going into a new region.
Yeah, I mean, in my head, it's always been a sequel.
Mhm.
As loosely a sequel as the other movies are sequels to
Yeah.
the previous movies. Like, I've never gotten a sense that there's like people obsessed over the continuity and the lore of Deathstalker. Um, Not to say that I deliberately tried to like scrub anything away or change anything. And even though I named the tavern Munkar's Tavern, in my head canon, that is Munkar's brother, who's also named Munkar. I guess Munkar is the
Mhm.
family name. And so he, instead of becoming an evil sorcerer, he went into like starting up a business, started up a tavern, lived a more like straight edge normal life compared to his evil brother who went on to become an evil wizard and get pulled apart at the end of the first Deathstalker. So I hope that proves that I put some thought into it, maybe more than past Deathstalker filmmakers have with their sequels.
Now again, we're all about the monsters. Can you go through some of them? And I would love to know if they have names and kind of what inspired some of them. Like my favorite one is the one with the buzzsaw on the chain,
Oh yeah,
which to me screams Soul Calibur Voldo.
oh yeah. Well, it's Troy James
Hmm.
plays Scarabus, and Troy I met on The Void. I think that was his first acting role. Was in The
Oh,
Void.
really?
He plays like one of the monster patients in like kind of the last chunk of the movie when they're basically going through hell. He's like this weird like kind of crab walking patient guy, and so that was my first time working with Troy. And since then, his career's blown up. He's been in tons of movies. He's a very talented contortionist and creature performer. And even back then, back in like the Void days, I remember him saying he wanted to play Voldo or just have a Voldo costume. And so with
Mhm.
this, as I was writing it, I was kind of crafting it in the direction of a Voldo type character. Like I just had it in my head, like it would be great if Troy played this and, made him like a bendy, contortionist mummy man. And yeah, so it just informed how I wrote the character. And like all the monsters that Deathstalker fights, the idea is they're all just boss fights. It's just a series of boss
Yeah.
fights. So it's like coming up with their look, what their gimmick is. So Scarabus obviously has his blade that he chucks on a chain. It's very Scorpion in Mortal Kombat.
Mhm.
But then he can also teleport,
He's
and
also
then can,
Scorpion.
yes, exactly. And he can see through like buildings and things. He can see souls. That's his like predator vision. So I guess there's a
Mm.
little bit of predator there too. And then yeah, the fact that he's a mummy. There's a little bit of mummies alive in there as well. I love those character designs, and so yeah, every monster villain in the movie was just me, kind of like piecing like different ideas together to try and come up with a cohesive concept. Like Desperon, who's the big stone man with the rotating faces. Initially, that inspiration was Talos from Jason and the Argonauts, especially with the whole like opening the plug on him to let his goo out that kills
Yeah.
him. That's a very Jason the Argonauts moment.
Wasn't there a
But then,
He-Man character kind of like that?
well, the faces rotating is very many faces.
Yes, yes, yes.
Um, but yeah, again, it's like I'm kind of pulling from all over to come up with these guys, and a little bit of like all of them. There's always like a bit of a tokusatsu Japanese influence where I
Mhm.
just like uh, that kind of like Sentai Kamen Rider monster vibe of it's not really about making them the most articulate creatures, like they don't have the most animated faces, but to me it's more interesting to just have like kind of a cool static look that you could scale down and make a fun action figure like that iconography is more important to me than anything. So yeah, I apply that logic to all my creatures.
And then the creatures that kind of come out of the final boss, the little flying like skeleton guys, is that Freddy's Dead inspired?
Yeah, I mean, initially I think the look was a little different, but as I made them and as I realized, like, oh, these are going to be stop motion,
Mhm.
because actually on set it was going to be a different thing that he battles. He was going to fight these like orbs that came out of Saitor's hands that had blades on them and were spinning. But as is always the case, we just ran out of time. So in the moment, I made up like, oh, there's just shit flying around, and he's fighting it with his sword, and I'll put something in later. I'll figure out what that is later. And so as I was sculpting these things, I was like, oh, it'd be cool if they're like skull snakes. And then I was like, oh, well, that's Freddy's Dead. That's those like soul
Yeah.
demon things.
Uh,
So yeah, very much in the end, it became inspired by that.
no, I'm a huge Freddy's Dead fan, so I was like jumping out of my seat, pointing at it.
I mean, that stuff I love in that movie. The like weird lore, background
Mhm.
lore of these dream demons. Those kinds of big swings. That was the era for it too, with like
Right.
Jason Goes to Hell and the like weird body hopping worm
Mhm.
creature. I don't know. I appreciate when people are like, "What if we just did something completely different with this franchise?" That, frankly, at that point is becoming a bit
You're right.
formulaic.
And
So
even if it doesn't work per se, it's still interesting. At least something
yeah,
different. So
well, like that's what I look back on with a lot of these franchises is like appreciating when something just tries a
mhm.
new thing. Because look, even here we're talking about it. We're talking about Freddy's Dead. We're talking about those dream demons. I'm not really talking about Dream Child too much because yeah,
Which
doesn't take a big weird swing like that. Though I guess that one does have the motorcycle, uh,
which
like
is
twist,
very Iron Man tattoo.
which is
But I mean, it's
I think
Stephen Hopkins too, who's a great guy, who's a great director. But it's just one of those things. At that point, they just kind of didn't much gas. Um,
yeah.
also another of favorite scene is the sorcerer fight, which is like very very Harryhausen, and then Big Trouble in Little China. It's a lot of
Yes.
everything.
Yes. Yeah. Well, the idea of a proxy fight is something I've always wanted to do, and definitely inspired by Big Trouble in Little China. I love the idea of two wizards being like, well, we're like feeble and old, but we can cast more more menacing creatures at each other, and they can fight. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it really was my excuse to go full Ray Harryhausen. I've always wanted to have a skeleton fight. Also, yeah, full Army of Darkness,
Mm-hmm.
because that has plenty of stop motion skeletons in it, which are very well executed, and I don't think get enough love. But yeah, this has the most stop motion I think out of any of my feature films, which I'm very proud of.
That's awesome. And then any talks on a sequel or any other projects related to this, or even what else are you going to be working on next?
Uh, as far as Deathstalker goes, I think we just got to wait to see like what the numbers are for streaming. I'd love to do another one, but as is the case with all my other properties, it's like would like to do it for a little more money.
Yeah.
Because again, I threw everything I had at this. Was animating all that stop motion like over my Christmas break last year. Would love to kind of work that into a proper production schedule next time and maybe get paid for it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I did
we'll
see
see.
that the it's coming to blue I don't know if it's Blu-ray or 4K, but I know it's coming on video in February.
Yeah, Shout just announced that. Um, so
So
yeah,
if you
it will
enjoy
be
the
coming.
movie and you want another one, go buy the disc and prove it.
Go buy the disc, and then eventually when it drops on Shutter, like give it a watch just so
Hmm.
it can get those numbers up. And or yeah, buy it on VOD now. It's available. So yeah, the more people who watch it, the better the chances of me making another one. So yeah.
And what about personally? What do you can you talk about any projects you have coming up?
Uh, right now I'm doing a little bit of stop motion for a Japanese filmmaker friend of mine that needs some stop motion robot monsters. So I'm in the other room doing that right now, and then yeah, trying to see what next year's uh, going to entail as far as movies go and work goes. I've just been working in effects a lot,
Hmm.
just paying the bills and spending time with my family, not stressing too hard about what the next movie is going to be. I've gone pretty hard the past little while.
Yeah.
I think I've earned a bit of a break. So
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
I want to wait to see how Deathstalker does. I want to just kind of noodle on some small stuff at home, and then we'll see what something will happen next year. We'll see. Stay tuned.
And sure. And then well, I know you worked on In the Violent Nature, another,
Yep.
cult favorite of the last couple of years. Are you working on the sequel at all?
Yes, that's wrapped. We shot that September, October.
Okay.
So, yeah, we did all the effects for that out of my shop. And yeah, I'm not allowed to say anything about it, of course.
I'm sure.
But I
Uh,
can say there's some pretty wild gore in it. I think I can say that. And that's no spoiler for anybody. So,
no, I think Yoga Girl Kill is probably one of the best kills I've ever seen. So I'm curious how you find a way to top that.
they definitely do. It's crazy. It's crazy. I'm excited for people to see it.
I'm very excited to see it myself. All right, I know we're pressed for time, so I'll kind of ask our final question. Is always, we're dads for the crypts. We always talk about, fatherhood and whatnot. As a relatively new father with an 8-month old, first of all, you killed your Halloween costume. Your baby's first mech was
Oh, thank
amazing.
you.
So you have
I
that
feel
part down. But
yes.
what other parenting advice or insights now that you're a parent, especially a working parents, can you give our audience?
I think really enjoy all the little moments you can get. I'm watching him grow up before my eyes, and uh, being a workaholic, it's easy to sink into this logic of like, oh, I got to stop hanging out with my son to go do this thing. It's what I've been doing, making a point of doing, is telling myself the opposite and being like, no, spend. But how about you put time in with your kid and don't feel guilty about it in any way? Spend as much time as you can with them. Uh, every minute has been a joy, and so yeah, work. There's always time for work. There's always time for other things. Enjoy it. Enjoy that, like the love that you get from having a young child in your life and watching them grow up before your eyes. That's my advice. Is just really enjoy every minute of it.
That's awesome. Great. All right. Well, again, thank you so much for coming on. Greatly appreciated. I've heard nothing but great responses for this movie. I hope everyone gets a chance to see it and go support it however you can. Where can people follow you and your work and everything else you do?
Well, my Instagram page is at Kill Kostanski, and that's usually where I post work and monster stuff and updates about my movies. But then I also have a Patreon account, Kostanski's Crypt. Look that up, and that's really where all the good stuff is. I've been doing a little podcast where I interview effects friends of mine, and we swap effects stories. But also I post videos from all my movies, like behind the scenes stuff, behind the scenes photos. I post photos of stuff I'm working on currently. I field questions and things. Trying to make it like a forum for people who want to make their own movies, want to make their own effects, and obviously doing it on a budget. I try to cater to that crowd specifically. I'm not a Stan Winston Studios where I'm giving you high end of build techniques. I want to help out the indie filmmakers out there as best as I can. So Kostanski's Crypt is the place for all that sweetness.
Okay, so just to make sure, the podcast is only on your Patreon, so it's not anywhere else.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Got it. All right. I didn't even know you had that, and I've been following you for a while, so I'll have to check that out.
Awesome. Yeah, It's a lot of fun. I have another episode I think we're going to be dropping tomorrow. So
awesome. Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate everyone for listening. I'd really appreciate if everyone give us a rating and review on iTunes, a rating on Spotify, like and subscribe on YouTube, and follow us at Dads from the Crypt Talk on TikTok. And with that, I thank you for listening to Dads from the Crypt.
Follow Dads from the Crypt on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, or I will follow you to the grave. No, seriously, you really should watch. But be careful what you ask for. You may get it.